Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Welcome, everyone. Today I made a discovery. I discovered that Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written a song, which is a prayer to Yogamaya. So I thought, well, that would be nice to read, wouldn't it? I think I'm going to bring more light in here. It's so dark. Don't go anywhere. Yeah, so Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote a prayer to Yogamaya. And I think we should read that. After we do kirtan, we can read that prayer to Yogamaya. It's interesting. Sometimes we pray to Maya, Maya, leave me alone, don't bother me. So this is a prayer to Yogamaya, bother me. Bother me with Krishna consciousness. That's the prayer. So we have a little kirtan. I heard something this morning from my godbrother, Divyanga. We gave class yesterday, Sunday feast, about criticism. And he said Vrindavan Das Thakur has mentioned that if you want to achieve your goals in Krishna consciousness, it's not possible to achieve them if you're critical of devotees. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Everything inauspicious comes from criticism. Everything auspicious comes from glorifying devotees. That's the conclusion. All right. I wonder if I could move this around a little bit. So we're kind of facing you more when we chant. Let me see if it's possible. Yeah, it's possible. Let's do something more. Yeah, it's like I'm facing you in class. But I'm a bit far from my computer, so I'll have to move it afterwards. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kupijana Balba Girivardhari Kupijana Balba Girivardhari Vishodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Vishodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Vijana Vallabha Girivardhari Vijana Vallabha Girivardhari Shodhanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Shodhanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari, Shuranandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Shuranandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jamuna Tira Vanachari. I have a transcendental idea. Don't go away. Thought I had a transcendental idea. I can't find it now. Maybe this. Hold on. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari, Kishoranandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Kishoranandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Go Premanandi, Hare Hare Bol. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Were you all dancing? I think I saw you all dancing. Like, you know, when you dance, it's very good because you're off the ground. When you're off the ground, you're kind of not really in touch with the world anymore. So, dancing is important. And if you don't dance every day, all I can say is not good. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Shaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pachanine. Nirvise Sasanyavadi Paschati. Everything looks kind of dirty, doesn't it? Messy. I think it's the light. We need more light. But I'm going to clean the lens, so I'm going to black you out for 1 second. Because I never know if it's just a dirty lens or bad lighting or what. As long as you can hear me, we're okay. Right? You can hear me, right? Okay, so would you like to hear that song, Bhaktivinoda Thakur? So if you would like to hear the song, what we can do is we can go, Nadia, if you're here, then go to the end of the document that I just sent you. And that's where we'll find the song. And I'm going to look, I have to bring it up. I believe it's at the end of the document. Yes, the last thing in the document. This is quite a document. We've already 47 pages on Maya and Yoga Maya. Okay, so this is a song, I don't know the Bengali name of the song, but the English name is Song to Yoga Maya by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So I'll chant the Bengali and we'll read the translation. Amar shaman hina nahi e shamshare ashtira hayeche pari bhava pari bhare. The likes of such a lowly soul as me is not to be found anywhere in this world. Thus I have become most agitated due to falling into this vast ocean of material existence. Kula Devi Yogamaya More Kripa Kori Abarana Shambari Be Kabe Vishvodhari. It's probably not the right melody. It has a few syllables less. Anyway, we'll figure it out. O Yogamaya, when will you show mercy to me by lifting up the curtain of illusion, which you shroud the universe in your external form of maha-maya? You are known as Kula Devi, the traditional worshipable goddess of all the Vaishnava dynasties. So it's interesting. He's not praying to Maya. He's praying to Yoga Maya, whose external form is maha-maya, who bewilders everyone by maha-maya. So he's praying to her to uplift her Maya potency rather than praying to Maya. Interesting, right? Text 3. Sunechi. How do we sing this? Sunechi aghamari vede mahi-maya tomar Sri Krishna vimukhe badhi kaurayo shamshar. That's it. I have heard of your glories and activities from the Vedic literature. You take all those souls who are adverse to Krishna and bind them within the material world. Si Krishna samukajar bhagya krame hoy taramuka diya koro ashoka aboy. To that person whose good fortune gradually dawns, allowing him to again become favorably disposed to Krishna, you award liberation and make him free from all grief and fear. So if Yoga Maya is merciful on us, she can remove that curtain of illusion, and all of a sudden you see what you never saw before, you feel what you never felt before, you understand what you never understood before, It's like, just like the curtain. What's behind the curtain? The spiritual world is behind the curtain. Krishna is behind the curtain. Everything we want is behind that curtain. So he's praying to remove that curtain. This is text 5. E dase janani kore akaiva dhoi brindabane dehishtana tume jogamoy. O my dear mother, showing your causeless mercy to this servant, give me a place in Vrindavan, for you are Yogamaya herself, the internal energy of yoga or union. Verse 6. Tomake lagiya kota jive Krishna pai, Krishna rasa prakotilo tomar kripoi. Without complying with you, no soul at any time can get Krishna. For the manifestation of Krishna's pastimes is all enacted only by your mercy. You want Krishna, you have to work with Yogamaya, not against her. Tumi Krishna sahachari jagata janani, tumi de koila more Krishna chuntomani. You are the devoted follower of Lord Krishna, and you are the mother of the universe. You have shown me the transcendental touchstone of Krishna consciousness. Verse 8 is the last verse. No, there's 9 verses. Nishkapata hoya mata chai moropan pane Vaishnave vishvasha vridhi hoike pratikshane. Kind of low for me. My dear mother, I sincerely wish that you will let my faith in the Vaishnavas increase at every moment. Yogamaya is the internal energy. Yogamaya, you could say, is also Radharani, Lakshmi. It's how we approach Krishna. So it's natural to pray to her as you would pray to Radharani. Text 9. Vaishnava charana bhina bhave poribhar Bhaktivinoda nare hari parabar bar. It's about as low as I can go. I think that's the lowest note I can hit. Well, close to it. Without the lotus feet of the devotees of the Lord, Bhaktivinoda is not able to cross to the other side of this ocean of material existence. So now we know, if we're ever inclined, oh Maya, leave me alone, we don't pray to Maya, we pray to Yogamaya. Correct? Correct. So we left off on Friday with Krishna retrieving the sons of Devaki, the 6 sons who were killed in Sutala, and he met Bali, and Bali was happy to see him. And I'm going to start reading because I didn't note exactly where we left off. And as always, if we make the mistake of reading something twice, it's not a problem. Are we ready to go? I have to see if you're all there. You are all there? Yes, you're all there. Hare Krishna. I'm just checking out who's here. Some new faces, some old faces, and some faces that are old due to time. That's a joke. Sometimes you meet an old friend and you haven't seen them and you say, it's nice to see an old face. But when you get to my age, it's literal. And, if you're young, say nice to see an old face means old friend. When you're older, nice to see an old face means you're actually seeing an old face. Hare Krishna. Okay, we're going to read. This is from Krishna Book, chapter 85. think we read this actually, but I think this could be the last thing we read, but let's read it again. Great sages, please understand that the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna are all eternal. They are not ordinary narrations of historical incidents. Such narrations are identical with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, they're not historical because they've happened before, they'll happen again, and they're going on somewhere. It's so interesting because as we discuss a pastime, it's actually going on somewhere. We're saying, 5,000 years ago this happened, but some in the universe is happening right now. Anyone, therefore, who hears such narrations of the Lord's pastimes is immediately freed from the contamination of material existence. And those who are pure devotees enjoy these narrations as nectar entering into their ears. Such narrations were spoken by Shukadev Goswami, the exalted son of Vyasadeva. And anyone who hears them, as well as anyone who repeats them for the hearing of others, becomes Krishna conscious. And only the Krishna conscious persons are eligible to go back home, back to Godhead. As long as you don't criticize devotees, you're eligible to go. If you criticize devotees, you're not eligible to go. You have to come back and learn how to not criticize. Otherwise, you keep coming back. It's a fact. There's a purport. Maybe I read it like 40 years ago or 30 years ago. So I can't say where it is, maybe 5th canto, but Prabhupada's listing the things we need to do to be Krishna conscious. Standard practices. And then at the end of he says, if you do all these things, you'll go back to Godhead as long as you don't offend devotees. Like that's the disclaimer there. This is not going to work if you offend devotees. So we were hearing that this morning from a god brother. Vrindavan Thakur said, you won't achieve your goals if you offend devotees. So we're going to continue reading. This is from Krishna Book, chapter 86. The atheistic class of men simply observe the activities of material nature, but cannot find you as the original background. A devotee, however, can immediately see your hand in every movement of material nature. The curtain of Yoga-maya cannot cover the eyes of the devotee of your lordship, but it can cover the eyes of the non-devotee, which is why for the non-devotee, or for some of them, atheism is it's just so sensible and logical because they see the world through material eyes, and through material eyes you don't really see that there's a God. You just see that everything seems to be happening naturally, automatically, without the need for a God. Or the concept of a God as a person who has unlimited power it's difficult for the mind to conceive of that, at least the mind of a person who is bent on seeing the world empirically. So Prabhupada's saying for the devotee, that makes no sense because Maya can't cover their eyes. But for those whose eyes are covered, it just makes total sense. Everything just happens by accident. Everything's evolving. And it's interesting because, Darwin's theory has been around for a while and it's been modified, neo-Darwinism or whatever they call it today. And a lot of scientists don't buy into it, at least not the way he explains it. And some of them don't buy into it at all, or they're looking for new models. But they're very hesitant to accept the model of an intelligent creator. And even those who accept this is strange, but even those who accept designed by intelligence don't necessarily think that intelligence is embodied or that intelligence is a God. You can call it God. You could call it intelligence. And Prabhupada was listening this morning to a lecture. Prabhupada said, they say everything happens by nature. He said, but nature is impersonal. There's got to be something more than just things just happening by nature. Anyway, but if Maya covers the conditioned soul, then they can think anything, and it'll make sense to them. Any crazy thing can make sense. And sometimes you try to reason with them, it's impossible because they have a view which is so covered due to their desire, as we've been discussing. Maya appears as yoga maya or maha-maya according to your desire. So, you don't want to see God, you don't want to believe in God, so fine, you won't. And we'll help you, we'll give you intelligence to validate all your ideas, at least validate in your head and validate in the heads of others who also don't want to believe. And so it'll make total sense. And a world with a God in control will make absolutely no sense to you. So such people have become devotees. And how did they become devotees? The curtain was open. They're like, oh, yeah, I was a fool for thinking that way. The non-devotee is unable to see you, the non-devotee is unable to see you face to face, just as a person whose eyes are blocked by the covering of a cloud cannot see the sun, although persons flying above the cloud can see the sunshine brilliantly as it is. And sometimes people would ask Prabhupada, can you see God? And they would also ask Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, can you see God? Who knows if they're going to believe you if you say it? But sometimes Prabhupada would say, yes, and you can see also, and I can show you. Or sometimes he would say, well, if I say to you that I'm seeing God, well, sometimes he said, will you believe me? And they say, yes. He said, okay, I'm seeing God at every moment. But sometimes he would say, if I say that I can see God, well, what would that mean to you? Because you don't even know what God is. So it doesn't really mean anything other than maybe you think it's possible to see God, but it doesn't help you in understanding who God is. That's Prabhupada's point. But can a pure devotee see God? Well, we have proof in Lord Brahma because he was the first created being and he described Krishna in his meditation. So seeing God also means you can see him in your heart. Premanjana charita bhakti vilochanena shantas sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti. God, I could play the music for my Brahma Samhita and sing it. Hey, that would be a real feature of today's show, worth all the entrance fee you paid to hear it. Let me see if I have that music. I do. Wow, it's your lucky day. Okay, I'm going to sing that verse for you with the background music of the Brahma Samhita that hasn't come out yet. And now you're all going to go, oh, when's it going to come out? I want to hear it. Premanjana charita bhakti vilochanena shantas daiva hridayeshu vilokayanti shaimang tribanga lalitani yata prakasham govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. That's just a taste, but that's all you get for now. Now, Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santas Sadaiva Hridayesha Vilokayan. Yam Shama Shundaram. I said it wrong. Okay, I'll sing it again for you because I said it wrong. And I know you want to hear it again, right? Do you? You do, right? And I like singing it. It's like, it's nice. Is it loud enough? Can you hear it? Is it loud enough? Should I make it louder? Anjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Shantassadaiva Viraishu Vilokayanti Yashama Shandarama Chinta Gunashurupam Govindamadi Prusham Tamam Bhajami. You can all sing together. Premanjana Chirita Bhakti Vilochanena Shandasadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yashama Shandarama Chinta Gunasurupam. Everyone. Govindamadi Prusham Tamam Bhajami. Hare Krishna. We're still working on it. We're getting more vocals for it. I've done the whole thing, and now we're getting devotees to sing background. So we'll have a big choir. Govindamadi Prusham. Anyone who wants to sing, you have to have access to a studio, and you have to get it to me this week. So let me know. You can write me and say, I can do it. I have access to, or have a studio in your house with a decent microphone. And you can do it. Govind. And then, okay. And then your favorite part. Okay, we'll give you a preview. This is your favorite part. You all may remember this from the live part. This is the end of the song. And I do this live. You can all sing with me. It goes like this. Govinda. You can all sing Govinda. 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 Govinda, 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 hey, Govinda. So we already have some devotees singing that background. Govinda. That part. Anyway, if any of you are able to sing and have facility, I will send you the tracks to sing with. That is a sample. So now we have to, fun's over, I guess. Now we have to go back to dry philosophy. One time, Prabhupada said, when you have a festival, he said, only speak 20 minutes. He said, who's interested in dry philosophy? Because he was saying, like, Krishna consciousness is festive, prasadam, kirtan. And he said, well, this dry philosophy. He was joking, but it's kind of, that's how people see it. But prema means love. Anjana, prem anjana. Anjana means ointment. Churita bhakti vilochanena. Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena means the ointment of love, the salve of love, it's placed on the eyes. Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena. Shantas Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokat. And when you have that, you can see Krishna everywhere, in everyone's heart, every atom. And what do you see? Yam Shama Shundaram Achinta Guna Sharupam. You see Sham Shundar with inconceivable. Yam Shama Shundaram Achinta means inconceivable. Guna, qualities, Swarupam. You see this Shama Shundar's form with inconceivable qualities. Now this is interesting because it says you see him with the salve of love within everyone's heart, but what do you see? You see Shama Shundar. You don't see Paramatma. Because Shama Sundar is your Lord, and therefore you see your Lord in everyone's heart and every atom. You see him everywhere. And we can have another verse for people who don't believe in God. Their eyes, what would the verse be for them? Their eyes have the salve of hate. So they have Dvesha Anjana. Instead of Premanjana, they have Dvesha Anjana. Dvesh means hatred or envy. Dveshanjana, Churita, and they don't have bhakti. What do they have? Karma. Dveshanjana, Churita, Karma, Vilochanena. Yeah, so their eyes are covered with hatred and envy, and because of their fruitive action. And in everyone's heart, what do they see? They see the body is made of chemicals and there's no soul. Yeah. Basically, they see themselves in the center. That's the problem. Now you want me to sing the whole Brahma Samhita, don't you? Like you got a taste. This is called Brahma Samhita 2020. Yeah, we put a lot of time into it. We put a lot of money in buying all the equipment to do it. And, with COVID, it was hard to get the vocals. And anyway, it's getting there. We have some backup vocals already. We get some more, and then it'll be time to mix it. We may have to, and anyway, it has to go to Havi. He's going to have to take care of it. Yeah. Okay, so let's go back. The non-devotee is unable to see you face to face, just as a person whose eyes are blocked by the covering of a cloud cannot see the sun, although persons flying above the cloud can see the sunshine brilliantly. Can you imagine how frustrating it would be if you could actually see Krishna in everyone's heart? You could see the material energy, you could see the spiritual energy, and you're talking to people and say, there is no God, I don't believe in God, it's all chemicals. You can't see God, you can't show me God. And you're seeing God in the heart of the person who's telling you there's no God. That would be, you need a bit of patience to deal with that, isn't it? People are saying there's no God, and you're seeing God in their heart. And you ever talk with like a little kid or a teenager who thinks they know everything and know nothing, and they're telling you all these, no, it's like this, it's like that, and they have no idea what they're talking about, and you think, no, it's not like that. Yes, it is. No, trust me, I know. I have 3 PhDs in this topic. It's not like that. What do you know? It is like that. It's something like that. You just have to be quite patient in dealing with those people. Hare Krishna. I was reading a letter on Prabhupada. Prabhupada was saying a point that I made before about Prabhupada, but now he was saying it about himself. He was saying sometimes a devotee will appear to be condemning or criticizing, but they're just describing. They're not condemning or criticizing, they're just describing a reality. So he said, it's like you describe a tiger. A tiger is dangerous. At least for us, he's dangerous. Maybe not for a rhinoceros or an elephant, I don't know. But for some animals, most animals, tigers are dangerous. And certainly for us, if we had to face him, he would be dangerous. And so Prabhupada said, to say that a tiger is dangerous, to say you should stay away from a tiger, it's a fact, not necessarily a criticism. He said, but we love all living entities. We love the tiger also. We wouldn't do anything to harm the tiger. So he said, sometimes we may criticize people, that these people are like this or these people are like that, which is just, Not criticism, it's just an objective reality. This is what they're like. He said, but still we love them. We love everyone. So, generally you don't criticize people you love if you're criticizing this person is wrong or foolish or covered by ignorance. It's not generally the people you love that you describe that way. But for the pure devotee, he loves everyone. He wants to see everyone Krishna conscious. But he will also point out objectively the mistakes. These people are like this. These people are wrong for this way. These people are sinful in this way. So, even though it may be frustrating dealing with atheistic class of men, the pure devotee still has affection for everyone, even while he's in a big argument telling them they're fools. One time Prabhupada spoke to a scientist, and the scientist was arguing that consciousness is just a combination of chemicals or matter, and that's fine, but there's no proof to it. It's one thing to say that, that's what I think, or that's what it seems, but to say it is without proof, that's kind of frustrating. So Prabhupada was talking to him, and he couldn't understand. And Prabhupada said, you know why you can't understand? I said, you can't understand because you're a demon. Or as Prabhupada would say, demon. Well, demon, how we use it, and how Prabhupada uses it, demon is a translation of the Sanskrit word asura. And sura means godly, and asura means ungodly. So basically what Prabhupada is saying, you can't understand it because you're an atheist. So the word demon is really just Prabhupada's translation of ungodly. But for us, it has other connotations, like demon is like, going to terrorize the world. Although the atheists are good at doing that as well. But not every atheist is a terror. But Prabhupada told him, yeah, you can't understand this because you're not godly. And he was trying to explain. So sometimes, that's a reality, people, because of their penchant towards atheism, they don't have the capacity to understand. And if they become Krishna conscious, if they someday can become submissive to a pure devotee, then they can understand. So it's not material knowledge that you just need a degree in. Because you can read the Vedas and not understand anything. It's possible. You can understand intellectually. I've heard there's even scholars of religious studies, Asian studies. They study Chaitanya's movement, they study Vedas like that, and they're atheists, but they like to study it. It's interesting. You would never think atheists would be interested in the Vedas, but they're interested in the philosophy. Don't you find that interesting, that they would want to study that? And they study it, and somehow their life doesn't change. They remain atheists their whole life. Even they're reading all these stories about Lord Chaitanya's miracles. It's interesting. Another thing that's interesting that you may have thought about is that sometimes the husband's a devotee and the wife isn't, the wife's a devotee, the husband isn't. And, the devotee who's practicing obviously is talking about Krishna consciousness. And it just doesn't appeal or doesn't make sense, So we're all on the path, and some people are more ready than others, and sometimes you can't force it. It's just people get purified gradually, or some tragic life event comes and it purifies them more quickly. And Prabhupada flew around the world 12 times, so the people on the airplane were quite fortunate. And there's a story, perhaps you've heard this story, it's quite amazing, actually. Prabhupada had eaten some puffed rice. He'd eaten breakfast, included puffed rice, and then he had, as far as I remember the story, had given it to his servant who was sitting next to him, and the servant was eating it. So it's maha, Prabhupada's remnants. Either his servant or Prabhupada, I think it was the servant. But in any case, this flight attendant looked at it, and I think she asked, "What is that?" And he explained, he goes, "That looks good." And she just took a little bit off his plate and ate it. It was South America, so you could get away with that in South America. I wouldn't try that in England. I don't know, Germany either. It may not work. Russia, maybe. Depends how much vodka they've been drinking. But my experience in South America, to become best friends with someone takes about 3 seconds, maybe 5 at the most. Then you're like best friend. You just say hello like that. You're like hug, kiss. In the first 3 seconds, it's like you've known. In other countries, it may take 3 years, and that still may not be enough. But anyway, that's another discussion of culture, how culture affects us. So devotees were, I think it was in the Amazon, somewhere in the Amazon or some village somewhere in Brazil, doing Sankirtan, and they came to this lady's house. And she had Prabhupada's books, and she was chanting, and they were like in the middle of nowhere. Or as sometimes said, in the middle of nowhere. If this is nowhere, then I'm in the middle of it. So, which Alachua is the middle of nowhere, according to Prabhupada. So, she was actually practicing Krishna consciousness, and he was kind of amazed. It's like, you're out here alone, there's no devotees, you never met a devotee. How is it you're practicing? So she told a story. Once I was on an airplane, and there was this guru, and I saw him, and I took a little what they were eating. And so, what a story, right? She got the maha-prasad of Prabhupada. Krishna inspired her to just grab it, and she became a devotee. Now, will everyone who takes maha-prasad like that become devotees? No. But she did. So it's like when you're ready, it works, and before you're ready, it'll only work so much. And the same medicine will only work so much according to how much faith we have, our past piety, our desire in this life. And so sometimes, sometimes even the parents become devotees, and sometimes the wife doesn't, but the parents become devotees after the husband becomes. Sometimes the children become devotees and the parents aren't devotees, and they make the parents devotees. It's like, or that just the children become devotees, the parents don't. The parents are devotees, they raise their kids as devotees, they decide not to be. It's, we all have independence. But one thing we know, just keep praying to Yogamaya, please remove as the external energy, please remove yourself. Okay. This is a prayer. I believe this, I'm not sure whose prayer this is. Maybe, I don't know. I don't want to say. Maybe we can tell. It's the same chapter. Could be Bali Maharaj. Anyway, whoever said the prayer, it's a good prayer. So let's read it. This is Krishna Book, chapter 86. You are the supreme controller and superintendent of material nature's activities. The atheistic class of men simply observe the activities of material nature, but cannot find you as the original background. A devotee, however, can immediately see your hand in every movement of material nature. The curtain of Yoga Maya cannot cover the eyes of the devotee of your lordship, but it can cover the eyes of the non-devotee. The non-devotee is unable to see you face to face, just as a person whose eyes are blocked by the covering of a cloud cannot see the sun, although persons flying above the cloud can see the sunshine brilliantly as it is. We already read this, but we're reading it again. My dear Lord, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, my dear self-effulgent Lord. I am your eternal servitor. Therefore, kindly order me. What can I do for you? The conditioned souls feel the pangs of material contamination as the threefold miseries, as long as you are not visible to them. And as soon as you are visible by development of Krishna consciousness, all miseries of material existence are simultaneously vanquished. No, it's a different purpose. No, it's different purport. We didn't read it. What we read previously was, is it the same thing? Yeah, oh, what it was is, yeah, it was more of the purport. Anyway, you got to hear it again at no additional cost. Yesterday I was saying something funny in class about no additional cost, buy one, get one free. I said, if you make an offense to the holy name, it's buy one, get one free. No, excuse me. If you make an offense to a devotee, it's buy one, get one free. Because an offense to a devotee is an offense to the holy name. So buy one, get one free. One offense to a devotee, automatically you get an offense to the holy name for no additional price. 2 for the price of 1. I only had to make 1 aparad, and then I got the result of 2 aparads. I make 1 offense, and I get 1 offense free. So be careful. Yeah. That was a side point about getting something for free, right? Okay. Oh. So this next one is long. Let me see. Okay, I'm going to go see if you have any questions or comments, because the next one is like 4 paragraphs or so. Okay, I'm going to go back. Back. Let's see, I have to go back to see where we all started. Jyotirmaya was experiencing ecstatic symptoms while we were singing. Chills. Maybe that's the 9th symptom. Hair standing on end, was it that? Hair standing on end? Okay, that's one of them. That's one of the symptoms, hair standing on end. Wow. I'm going. Go. Oh, Kaylee's an ex-atheist. We'll hear from Kelly in a moment. Kaylee. Oh, David Singer likes my Bengali accent. Hare Krishna. Shri Krishna Sankirtan. Ki joy. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. That's my Bengali accent. Krishna Kanta, you have a Bengali accent? She lives in Mayapur. She ought to know. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Godadhara Shri Vashwari Gaur Bhakta Brinda. Yeah, I can also do a Bengali English accent. One time, see in Bengali, the S's are SH, sh. So one time Prabhupada said, he meant to say, Lord Chaitanya's come to save you, but he said, Lord Chaitanya has come to shave you. And the devotee said, shave you? And then Prabhupada understood that he pronounced it as shave. And then Prabhupada said, yes, he's come to shave you and come to save you. Shave you. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to shave you. And when they say sit down, you can imagine how they say it. I won't say it, but they say it with an SH. Prabhu, down. So it's kind of funny for us as Westerners in Bengal to hear them say that. So Kaylee's going to make a confession. As an ex-atheist, I can confirm this. I wasn't even trying to look behind the curtain, but it opened. Wow. Great fortune for you. Well, maybe you were, and you just didn't know it. Sometimes atheism is a temporary kind of situation, due to lack of good association and proper information. If an atheist becomes a devotee, I figure there's probably lots of piety in there, and just due to lack of knowledge and proper association became an atheist, or due to convenience. It's also convenient to be an atheist because then you just make up any kind of moral system you want, right? You don't have to follow any established system, culture, ritual. So it has its, convenient points for a free life. But that freedom's like driving through red lights. Hey, go drive out through the red lights. That's freedom, right? Yeah, freedom to end up in the hospital. Okay. So now we have another confession from a Christian Orthodox. This is from Jyotirmai. She's Greek. So is this the Greek Orthodox? Or, they have the Roman Orthodox. They have the, right? What do they have? Russian Orthodox, Greek Orthodox, Roman. Maybe John can tell us. He may know. I'm just a Jewish boy. I never saw a Christian growing up. Seriously. In my school, I think that my growing up, I only knew one Christian, and he moved into our neighborhood. I think they got lost. They were supposed to go to the Christian neighborhood, but they got lost. I had one Christian of all my friends. Nobody was friends with him because he was Christian. So I don't know much about that. When I was a Christian Orthodox, I think we had this discussion, didn't we, Jyotirmai? You were explaining the difference. Greek Orthodox, Russian Orthodox. When I was a Christian Orthodox and was in church, a boy asked the priest, why in the Greek church you pray in Byzantine Greek and not in modern one? Do you understand what it says? And the priest answered, why, if you understand the words, do you think you will be able to understand God? These words have always been with me since. Interesting. Yeah. It's like, you have to want to understand Krishna. But our philosophy, Bhakti Mam Abhijananti, you can only know me through bhakti. So there's so many things you're never going to know by reading a book. And even you read a book, it's like 10 years from now, you're going to read Prabhupada's books again, and you're going to understand things more deeply. So, you can understand. It's like you can understand what you can understand according to your level of purity. Correct? Yeah. You can understand what you can understand. That was a profound statement, if I ever made one. So if anyone asks you, what was today's class about? Say, well, Mahatma Prabhu said this amazing thing. What did he say? What did he say? Tell me. He said, you can understand what you can understand. And they're like, huh? You go, meditate on that. It's a Buddhist aphorism. Meditate on that for 100 lifetimes. But it's a fact. It's there in the book, and you read it, and you think, yeah, I understand what Prabhupada's saying. And you do, on some level, but you can only understand it to the level that you're on. We can read Rasa Leela. How much do you understand about Rasa Leela? Probably not much, because, how much do we understand about any Leela? Because they're so deep, but especially that Leela. We understand it incrementally as we advance, a little bit more. So that's, sometimes frustrating. You want to understand more, but you can't, because the intellect can only penetrate so far, right? So, Hare Krishna. Anandita. What is the definition of love? In the material world, we often say or feel that we love people. Our family, our friends. Is this an insight into spiritual love for Krishna? Or is this different in a little of both? I'm supposed to give a talk, Anandita, with Kirtan London in 3.5 weeks on this topic. Well, we have a problem, and the reason you're asking this question is part of the problem that we have. And what's the problem is? The problem is that the literature, the scriptures we are discussing were written in Sanskrit. And so once you get them out of Sanskrit into English, you sometimes lose something. It's just like Prabhupada writes, and this was Bhaktisiddhanta's problem, trying to translate the word rasa. We translate the word rasa as juice, as taste, as mellow, which means the emotion of a relationship. Sometimes we translate it as relationship. Oh, hold on a second. Wait. I have the wrong internet. Last time I'm going to see, I'm afraid to, maybe I shouldn't change it, right? We did that last time. I'm on the wrong internet. Anyway, so now in Sanskrit, you don't use the word prema for ordinary love between people of this world. Prema is specifically, prema refers to love for God. Whereas in English language, you have one word, love. So I love you, Anandita, you love me, and I love my guru, and you love your guru, and you love your mother, and I love my mother, and I love Krishna, and you love Krishna. No, it's different. And plus, I love cheesecake. You love cheesecake, Anandita? You go, no, I don't love cheesecake. I love blueberry muffins. Okay. I'm madly in love with blueberry muffins. So we have one word for everything. And in Sanskrit, the words are precise. What is your love of blueberry muffins called? I think it's called kama, not prema. I have prema for blueberry muffins. No, I don't think you have prema. Yes, I do, Prabhu. I have ecstatic symptoms when I eat blueberry muffins. My hair stand on end, my voice chokes. Yeah. Those are ecstatic symptoms of satisfying the tongue and the belly. So that's a problem, right? So for me, I find, technically speaking, the word love is really, if you want to be precise, it's really reserved for spiritual relationships. That word prema, love. It seems to me more accurate if we use the word affection. I have great affection for you. You have great affection for me. So we know what we mean when we say love. But the problem is, if I say I love you, you say you love me. The problem is, I also love cheesecake. And it's like, oh, and Nandita's saying, oh, so I'm like cheesecake to you. Is that what you're saying? No, I didn't say you're like cheesecake. I just said I love cheesecake. Well, you love cheesecake and you love me. And so you're just exploiting the cheesecake for your sense gratification. So when you say, and the fact is that that's often true, isn't it? When a man says, I love a woman, then I tell the woman, well, just tell him you're celibate and see if he says he still loves you. We could make a really funny video out of that, couldn't we? I actually told a devotee to do that because her ex-boyfriend, after she became a devotee, wanted to stay with her. And I said, well, tell him that's fine. We'll stay together, but I'm going to be celibate. And she did. It didn't work. She didn't really want to be with him, but that was a polite way of making it known that this probably is not going to work. So I said to her, well, ask him, do you love me or do you love having sex with me? Like, what is it? So when we say love, what are we referring to? I love ice cream and I love you. It's not the same thing. But in our culture, it's kind of come to mean the same thing. I love you because you give me pleasure. I love ice cream because ice cream gives me pleasure. So obviously, for love to be there, there needs to be reciprocation. Oh, the ice cream reciprocates. It tastes good. No, it's got to be a living being that reciprocates. So, but, as they say in India, What the? Kapila Dev says we should be attached to devotees. So what does attachment mean? Attachment means affection, right? Doesn't it? I have to show more books, then you'll think I'm smart. Okay, look at all those books I read. He must be smart. He read all those books. There you go. More books. So, it's that we should be attached to devotees. Now, in the spiritual sense, if I say I love means service. So if I love you, that means I put myself in a position where I want to satisfy you. That's what it really means. And you know, when people say I love you, it's because they're getting something from you. Sense gratification. And they don't always want to serve you. A lot of times they want to get from you rather than serve you. But strictly speaking, love means service. And if we're attached to a devotee, we're attached to a devotee because that devotee helps us, inspires us to become Krishna conscious. So it's natural to have attachment. So I think a lot of times the word attachment is safer for us. I'm very attached to this devotee, but I may not love that devotee because I don't want to serve them. I don't want to do whatever they want. So I'm very attached because they help me and I like them very much, and it's very pleasing to be in their association. And so, but Kapila Muni says you should be attached. That's very good. Be attached to devotees. Have affection for devotees. But strictly speaking, love means service without any motivation. So, do you love your mother? Do you love your father? Do you love your brother? Do you love your sister? The way we use the word materially, yes. And the way it's used spiritually, no. And I've given this example before. And I think this explains it well. When every mother loves her children, every father loves his children. And every morning, once Krishna reached the age of 5 or 6, he was given the calves, and he would take the calves to graze. That was his seva. Krishna would get up in the morning, and he would milk the cows, take breakfast, take a little snooze, a nap, or as Prabhupada called, a snap. I'm taking a snap. I'm snapping out. I'm snotting out. Instead of nodding out, I'm snotting out. The Prabhupada made up that word, snap. Or maybe they use it in India. And then he goes out with the cows. And so when he goes out with the cows, all the boys are over there and they all go together from his house. And then Mother Yasoda gives him his lunch and makes sure everything is just right, put on it right, and kisses him. And then he goes and she says, wait. And then she like that and kiss him again, and then he goes a few feet, wait, and she goes, she can't bear for him to go. It's just like, it's intolerable. It's the most painful thing for her to go. But my experience is, if you have a child, it's not uncommon when they're 5 and they go to school, it's kind of a relief that you have some free time like the first time in 5 years, you have some time to yourself. So you drop them off at school, usually kindergarten, or whatever you call it in your country, nursery school, kindergarten, Germany. So it's, wow, for the first time in 5 years, I'll have some time, I have 4 hours to myself. What a relief. So that's not uncommon. But Mother Yasoda doesn't feel that way. So when Prabhupada says there's no love in the world, what does he mean? Well, look at the love that Yashoda has for Krishna. Look at the love that the gopis have for Krishna. Ashishtava parvatam panashtumam. Okay, Krishna, whatever you want to do, fine with me. You want to make me happy, unhappy, doesn't matter. Make my life miserable, make my life great. Doesn't matter, whatever makes you happy, that makes me happy. Where do you find that love? That level of love? You know, in ancient Indian society, you find that very high level of love, a wife for the husband, husband for the wife. That's why the women would burn themselves, because they didn't want to live without their husband. They had such affection. So when Prabhupada says there's no love in this world, I don't think we should interpret it that, there's people have no affection and dedication and like that. But on the level of pure devotion, that's unparalleled. You don't find that in this world, although you find something close to it. So it's interesting because Prabhupada says there's no love in the world, but at the same time, he often talks about the love of a wife for her husband, the love of a mother for her child. So I think you just have to qualify it, that there's a difference. And then for ourselves, when we're using the word love, we have to ask ourselves, well, is it love? Is it dedication? Or is it just personal gratification? I love my computer. Why do I love my computer? Because it does everything I want it to. I don't actually love it. I mean, I don't pay obeisances to it. I don't worship it. I don't serve it. I mean, sometimes I clean it. That's about it. And I get it serviced once in a while. But in terms of loving, no. So that's the problem we have, because the language creates a problem in defining what it is we love. So anyway, that's something. So, I don't like saying devotees love their spiritual master, and they do. But sometimes you find these, what Bhaktisiddhanta called Dandavat Prabhus. And a Dandavat Prabhu is one who's like, Jai Prabhupada, and pays Dandavats. But when it comes to practical service and surrender, they don't really do much. They're kind of lazy, and they come and go, and some days they chant, some days they don't, But when Prabhupada shows up, Jai Prabhupada, we love you, Prabhupada, and they're crying and everything. And then Prabhupada goes to another temple, and then you don't see them till Prabhupada comes back to that temple. They're not doing any service. So the Dandavat Prabhus were like, every time they saw Bhaktisiddhanta, Dandavat, there's always, Guru Maharaj, Dandavats. But practically, they weren't doing much. So, if you want to define love purely what it is from the spiritual perspective, then it's prema, and then you have to study what is prema. And that verse, Ashlishava Paravatam Panastumam, which is the last verse of Shishastakam, basically explains the summit of prema, which is, if I suffer and it makes you happy, that's it, I'll suffer. That's why the great devotees would tell Mahaprabhu, give me all the karma of the world, let them all go back to Godhead, because they know Mahaprabhu would be happy if everyone went back to God. And so, okay, I'll take the karma. They know that one, so they'll suffer, which is like eons and light years away from where we are. But that's exactly how they feel, one who has love. And so if you study the devotees who have love, it's like, wow, it's amazing. They're just, when you see Prabhupada is like doing everything for Krishna and making so much sacrifice, you might say, well, he's spiritually advanced. Yeah, of course you would say that. But really what it is, if you analyze it, it's love. That's what love does. You just sacrifice everything when you love somebody. Isn't it? Is it not? So, when you look at Prabhupada's life and you see the dedication and you go, Prabhupada was so this, he was so that, just understand that was all love. That was just a manifestation of love. So then he say, what is love? Well, look at Prabhupada. That's love. I have a nice story for you. You want to hear a story? Answer this question. Well, even if you don't want to hear the story, you're going to hear it anyway. Once upon a time, there were a group of devotees in Alachua. And they were from another Gaudiya mission that is fond of discussing Leela, and especially Leela of Krishna's relationship with the gopis. And they were having a discussion, and they invited one of the senior-most devotees in our movement to come and have a discussion with them, and said they were analyzing what is conjugal ras and so on and so forth. I don't know the whole story. I don't know, but anyway, they're having a discussion of conjugal ras. What is it? How to achieve it, and like that. And this devotee, he was there from 1965 or 66. And he spent a lot of time with Prabhupada. And he said, you want to know what conjugal love is? You want to know what Madhurya Bhav is? He goes, this is what it is. And this was such a good answer. I appreciate it so much. He said, Madhurya Bhav, they're discussing, how the gopis manifest Madhurya Bhav and how we can follow in the footsteps. So he said, this is what Madhurya Bhav is, conjugal love. He says, it's when you're 70 years old and you have no money and you get on a boat on the order of your guru with basically no, the question of whether you can live and pretty much no question of being successful, but you're willing to try. He said, that's love. And I appreciated that so much. Just bring it down to earth. What is love? That's love. You sacrifice your life in the service of your guru, then you could say you love your guru. You'll do whatever your guru wants, even if you don't want to. Wow. So that's really what love is. You do what that person wants. And so that's rare to find. So I like using the word affection, because I think we have a lot of affection for one another, a lot of attachment, and Kapila uses the word attachment. We have a lot of attachment for one another to develop. There are so many devotees feel like, I know my guru wants me to do more, but I'm just too attached or too this or that. I know I should get up early. I know I should chant more rounds. I know I should do this service, but it's so hard. But when you have love, then you just do it, because that's what love is. So that's a kind of preliminary. I don't know if that was exactly what you were asking, but that's a starting point, perhaps. Well, I'll give another answer. This is a beautiful answer also. Then, Nandita, you can say, well, I don't think you have kids, but you could say this if you had kids and say, well, I love my children, and I wouldn't be one to say you don't. Nah, you don't love your children. That's just, no. So Prabhupada was asked about affection for children, because in the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada said, you should be detached. And so a devotee was asking, he said, well, it seems like awkward to be detached from children, because naturally we're affectionate and naturally they need affection. And Prabhupada said something that I think is so important for this discussion. He said, naturally you'll be attached to your children, he said. But if you actually love them, you'll make them Krishna conscious. Like, let's say you have a son. Let's say, Anandita, you have a son, and you're in England, and your son, when he's 5, he says, Mata, I want to go to Gurukula in Mayapur. And then your face turns red, and like, oh my God. You mean you'll go to Mayapur and I'll stay here in England? Yes, I want to go. And let's say it would actually be good for him. He can do it. He can, you have some friends there that look after him, etc., etc. How hard will that be for you? You're not going to see your son. And he may live there till he's 20 or 25. So you see your son a few days a year when you go to Mayapur, and that's it. You've seen him for 5 years, and that's it. That's how it used to be in the Gurukul system. And why did they do that? Because they knew it was the best thing for their kids. And so that was a manifestation of their love. Now, people will look at boarding schools, you gave up your son and there's no motherly love. And sometimes it's true, it doesn't work. It's bad for them. But let's just say, for the sake of discussion, it works. this is the best thing. And so your love for that boy has to come from your detachment. And if you say, I love him and I'm not letting you go, and he really wants to go and it'd be the best thing, then we would say, no, you're attached. So Prabhupada's saying, if you love your children, make them Krishna conscious. If you love your children, do what's best for their Krishna consciousness. That's love. Right? So I really like that answer because it's so clear. That's what love is. Now, this is not an ad for Gurukula and sending 5-year-old boys away from their parents. That could be a disaster. But if those boys were raised from an early age to wanting to go to Gurukula, if all their friends are in Gurukula and wanted to do it, then they could probably do it because that's how the culture used to be. You go to the village guru and live with him. And I'm sure a lot of boys were just waiting to turn 5 so they could do that. So I think that's an important answer. Shrudakirti's story. The lady stole the maha from Shrudakirti, and it was Prabhupada's maha. Krishna is Lithuanian, but she likes the Latin mood. She was probably Latin in her last life. Yeah. I'm serious about like making best friends in like 3 seconds. It's like when I'm in Mexico, I meet people. And I can't believe how personal and open they are, and they don't even know you. I mean, they know me because they heard me give a lecture, and they trust me, and it's like so open. Malgorzata, also known as Krishna Karshani, says. Did I pronounce it properly? Malgorzata. Srila Prabhupada was often boldly criticizing materialistic people and their behavior. I noticed that sometimes devotees imitating Prabhupada in this regard, criticizing non-devotees. Criticizing non-devotees seems to be contaminating for devotees who are not pure. Depends what you're criticizing and what the result will be. How to find a balance to not be too criticizing, but also not be blind for faults. What you say is true, It could be a sport. Hey, Prabhu, let's go out and find some people to criticize, follow in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada. If you're criticizing because you think it's fun, you're criticizing because you're a little brat and you think, oh, this is a bona fide way to be a brat. But as I said before, Prabhupada, when he was criticizing, it wasn't that he disliked people. He loved everyone. So my barometer is, well, is it actually going to help somebody? Now, sometimes you might have to use somebody to make a point. So let's say somebody brings up a point that's wrong. And so you might talk to them in a group, let's say a lecture, to explain why they're wrong. Politely. It sounds like criticism, or it might even be. But sometimes you have to do that to clarify for the audience the misunderstanding. And so if you think by doing this it will benefit people, then you do it. And then you say, excuse me if I offended you in any way. I'm just trying to make a point. And it also depends on your mood, because I was just reading this article, and it said that, and I think this is something we all know, that what you say is not what people feel, but what people feel is what you feel. Because, sometimes people say something nice, but that's not how they feel. And you feel what they feel, you don't feel what they said, and vice versa. So I could be criticizing you, but you feel that I'm trying to help you. And you don't feel the criticism, you feel the help. So I think that's important also. But especially for us, we shouldn't think we have a license to criticize just because Prabhupada did it. And then the other thing is, Prabhupada said he could get away with it because he was older. Of course, now a lot of us are older. But if I'm criticizing a 20-year-old, I can get away with it more easily than if you, at the age of 45, criticize a 45 or a 50-year-old or a 55-year-old. Like, you criticize people older than you. It doesn't usually go well. It doesn't go down well. Yeah. So I would say be careful. It has to be used in the service of Prabhupada. There's a letter in which this conversation came up about criticizing. And Prabhupada said, we have to speak the truth. He said, but if you speak the truth in a way that no one accepts it, then you can't say, well, I spoke the truth, it's their problem. Prabhupada essentially was saying, no, it's your defect that you couldn't get them to appreciate the truth. So a lot of times devotees think, well, I just spoke the philosophy and the people didn't get it, so it's not my fault. And in some cases, maybe that's true. But in many cases, it's not true. The truth is you didn't express it in a way that they could understand, that they could appreciate. And sometimes people don't like our movement. So if they don't like our movement, they can't listen to us. Or they don't like us, they can't listen. If you create an environment where they feel appreciative, or at least open or friendly, then they can listen. So that's also another factor. So I would say, yeah, we should be cautious. But, it's like there's a time and place for everything. And sometimes not being critical would be bad, and sometimes being critical would be bad. So I think you have to apply it judiciously. Pandit Srivas Das Pradipad Chatterjee. Chatterjee, is that Bengali? Bengali. Thank you so much. A quick question. Is it correct to assume that karma is the ultimate cause for one's current state of piety? Well, you're also creating more karma. If one is pious or devotionally inclined, then is that because of one's past good actions? In effect, is Sukriti to be considered karma or bhakti? The cause of bhakti will be the good fortune of a pure devotee and your past devotional activities. Karma can be conducive for it, but not the cause of it. Because if karma is the cause of it, then we better do everyone's chart that we're preaching to and make sure they have the karma to be a devotee. But by engaging them in devotional service and speaking to them, you upgrade their agyata sukriti. You upgrade their bhakti sukriti, and then that bhakti sukriti qualifies them. So we would say, not necessarily good karma, but past religious activity, specifically devotional, but any past religious activity makes people more open. But the real cause is the mercy of the Guru. And the service, the devotional service they do, the hearing they do, the mercy of the Guru that they're open to, that's the real cause. Because if you say karma is the cause, then you're saying something material is the cause of bhakti. And bhakti is not caused by anything material. It doesn't mean there's not situations that are conducive to receiving bhakti, like pious people will be more open to it, obviously. But just because you're pious doesn't mean you'll become a devotee. But if you're pious and you hear and you're intelligent and you take the proper association, then yes. And that's why everyone on the airplane who saw Prabhupada didn't manifest ecstatic symptoms and come and steal his maha and become devotees. So Prabhupada on the airplane, seeing him is definitely beneficial. It goes in your bank account. But some people's bank accounts were just not full yet. Just like Prabhupada says, you do enough bhakti sukriti, then, at a certain point you become a devotee. So we try to give people association and service. And if they're very impious, they probably won't take it up anyway. So it's past samskaras, past devotional piety. But having said that, we should, as preachers, and generally to understand the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya, that anyone can get it, no matter what they've done. So Jai and Vijay, the fourth time around, got mercy of Mahaprabhu, Jagai and Madhai. And so what Jagai and Madhai demonstrate is, at least in the story, in the Leela, the way Mahaprabhu did it, was that they didn't have any piety. They were like the bottom of the barrel, all sin, and they became devotees. You say, yeah, but they were Jagai and Madhai, it was just a Leela. The thing is about Leela, you can say that, but that's looking at it through one lens, like a philosophical lens. How do we understand the Leela? Well, actually, they were Jai and Vijay, and then Lord Chaitanya needed to demonstrate saving the most fallen, so they came as these most fallen people, engaged in these sinful activities, but it was all under Yogamaya's influence, blah, 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 blah. And it's all true, but that's all like theoretical analysis, philosophical analysis. But the other side, if you just look at it the way Lord Chaitanya enacted the Leela, is here are two fallen, sinful people who became devotees. Why? Because they surrendered to a pure devotee and they agreed to follow him and give up their sin. So that's the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, that he can transgress. Okay, you have no past piety, you have nothing, but you're willing to take up the mercy. Okay, that's all you're willing to take it up, that's all you need. In Kali Yuga, in 2021, all you need is just take the mercy. At one time they asked Prabhupada, why does somebody take it and somebody doesn't? He said, intelligent. He didn't say pious, he said intelligent. So I think Prabhupada wanted to, tell us, like, convince people by intelligence to take this up. Maybe they're so impious they won't take it up, and the only way they'll do it is you convince them by intelligence. At the same time, we see, if you look at all the early Prabhupada disciples and listen to their testimony, it goes something like this. I was looking for spiritual life. I had a meditation process. I was reading spiritual books. Then I met the devotees, and I just felt like I was home. And, next day I shaved my head and became a devotee. There's like 10,000. How many disciples of Prabhupada are there? Like 5,000. And there's like 5,000 nuances of that same story. So that's there also. They were devotees. And they just, someone's a devotee in their last life. They come in touch with devotees. It's like, this is it. This is everything. Bhagavad Gita, yeah, totally. Kirtan, it's just like, there's nothing like it, Boom, boom, boom. I want to do this. So that's there also. So you have both things, and everybody's somewhere on the continuum. But Mahaprabhu's mercy, Jagai and Madhai, look at that. What piety did they do? From the external Leela perspective, zero, and only sin. So they took the mercy. So that's the other side of the equation. Mahaprabhu's mercy. Take it, and you'll be Krishna conscious. Okay, we're going officially over time now, but we have questions. So I think your Bengali accent is good. We're all missing your association. I was thinking about offending others. Do we also get reaction if we accidentally offend others? Like people who get very easily offended. Yeah, that's a great question, isn't it? Some people, I was reading today that there's certain psychological natures that people have that they're born with. It could be chemical or this or that. And one of them is that they're very sensitive. So sensitive people easily get offended. And, like I always have these answers. I say, first I give the answer for the Bhakti Shastri. I say, on the Bhakti Shastri, if you ask the question, if someone gets offended, even though I didn't offend them, is that an offense? On the Bhakti Shastri, and you better put yes, or you're going to fail. Because that's the philosophy. That's the right answer. At the same time, if you look at it from the view of Mahaprabhu's mercy and compassion, then, if I happen to offend someone, but I didn't offend them, then it's not like serious, right? the thing also is, if you really need to offend someone, if it's like, "Well, I didn't offend anybody all month and I'm just going crazy, I have to offend somebody." All right, find a little kid or something, offend them. Yeah, well, that's not nice. Okay, I retract that statement. But what I'm saying is, find someone who's not important, who's not important. It's not a good word. Find someone who's not very advanced in Krishna consciousness, who's just because the reactions to offenses increase according to the level of advancement of the devotee. So if you go really high, it can destroy you. If you go really low and just have a bad day of japa today or something. So, if you have to offend somebody, get a little meter. It's called the Uttam meter. You know the Uttam meter? You put the meter up to someone's heart, Uttam, and they register if they're Uttam, Madhyam, or Kanishta. So if you really have to offend someone, offend a Kanishta. It will be less detrimental. So there is some reaction, unfortunately, even if they get upset, even though you didn't do anything wrong. So at least you're innocent, and the reaction is small. But if it's a very advanced devotee, it's not good. You don't want to offend an advanced devotee. It has a severe reaction. So just be careful. And what can you do? Your intentions are good. We do that. We offend people all the time because we just say hello and we didn't smile. Now they're offended. Or we said hello, after seeing them for 10 seconds. Then we said hello. Why did he say hello when he saw me? He doesn't like me. What can you do? I had this discussion with one of my godbrothers, and his conclusion was that Krishna's not going to hold you for committing an offense if you didn't commit the offense. But on your Bhakti Shastra, you have to say yes, because that's the tattva. But the rasa may be different than the tattva. So the technical answer may be one thing, but in real life, it may be something different. Isn't that interesting? Okay, Kaylee says, if your hair stands on end and your voice chokes when you eat blueberry muffins, you may want to be tested for allergy to blueberries. A real comedian there, huh? Well, what if that happens when I chant Hare Krishna? Will I get tested for? Man, that's a good allergy. I'm allergic to chanting Hare Krishna. I get ecstasy. Jyotirmai says, we haven't talked about the difference in the various churches, but if you want, we can do that. Mainly there is Greek Orthodox or Russian, and according to Eastern Europe Orthodox, and the Coptic Christians there in Africa. Latin churches are all Catholic, and it's another way to be a Christian. Yeah. Come back in 2,000 years, and you'll have the you'll have the Orthodox Hare Krishnas, the conservative Hare Krishnas, the Reformed Hare Krishnas, the Ritvik Hare Krishnas, the Libertarian Hare Krishnas, the all-women temple, the all-gay temple, the Chinese. Like we have these churches in America, like Korean, the first Korean. It's only for Koreans. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see all that. I hope we don't, but I would be surprised if we don't see all that. Human nature likes to divide according to their own clan. But anyway, we're trying to keep ISKCON as one movement. That's what Prabhupada wanted. A place where everyone can be happy. So I hope I'm wrong. Christy says, I read Prabhupada used to get frustrated if mothers who were devotees left their kids for other Matajis for a couple of hours to do puja. He said their children are Krishnas if they were not taken care of. He liked it if they were taken care of because they could do service. But if they weren't taken care of properly, then he didn't like it. Because he said, you should have a nursery. One mother can take care of 10 or 20 kids instead of 20 mothers taking each care of one. But if they don't... Prabhupada said that about Gurukula. He said some Gurukulas, the children weren't well taken care of. And he said, well, only the parents are the ones who really are going to take care of them. Krishna Karshini says, I have doubts. If most of us can develop this kind of selfless love Prabhupada had to his Guru, for more of us, we are the most important. Our happiness. Yeah, well, see, the thing is, what we always need to remember that this kind of love is our nature. So it's not like, how can I develop it? You always have to think in terms of, it's not really that I have to develop it. I just have to uncover it. It's already there. If you think of it in terms of developing it, then this question will come to your mind, like how, from this state I'm in now, I can't imagine having the kind of love that Prabhupada had. But Prabhupada always said, you should do what I'm doing. You should be like me, which implies that we can be like him. And we can do what he's doing. Otherwise, why would he say that? Not once, many, many times. So it's super important to remember that we're not developing love, we're uncovering it. And so that makes it conceivable. Well, Krishna Karshani, you don't have to create it. You already have it. You just have to get all the rocks on top of it out. So then it makes sense. Yeah, I could have that kind of love because I actually do have it. It's just covered. I was giving class yesterday. I need a light bulb. Hold on a second. Can you hold on a second? I want to do a demonstration. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. To do this demonstration properly, I need black tape. I don't have black tape. All I have is clear tape, which won't work. But Exhibit A, a light bulb. This light bulb is you, Krishna Karshani, and all of us, right? Now imagine I had some black tape. Imagine this was on. It almost looks like in this camera, it almost looks like it's on. But imagine it's on. To do this experiment, to do this properly, I'd have to plug this in. So imagine this is on and I had black tape. And on the black tape, there were names inscribed on the black tape. And I was taping this, right? So it would say envy, hatred, resentment, jealousy, bodily conception, etc., etc. So I put all the tape on, right? And what would happen after I got all the black tape on? No light. This bright light is now black, right? And what happens if I pull the tape off? Oh, I see little light, little light. So you, Krishna Karshani, are like this. You are this. You just got some black tape on. And so if you've had black tape on for a long time and you can't see the light, you think, well, it's impossible. I could never be this way. I could never be pure because we can't remember when we were pure. But if you look at it in terms of, well, I already am pure, I just have to get the black tape off. And once I get the black tape off, I don't have to become something. I don't have to do anything to become pure because that's who I am. So it's really important to remember that because otherwise it seems impossible sometimes, doesn't it? So that's my example. So I'm going to have to figure out how to do this when this lights up, and I'll buy some black tape and write on the black tape. How am I going to write on the black tape? I don't know if I'll be able to write on the black tape. Maybe blue tape would also work. Black is better. Mode of ignorance. Red tape for passion. Maybe we'll do red and black tape. Even blue tape. Goodness. Still. But the blue, oh, that would be good. The blue tape would be thin. So when you have the blue tape, the kind of the light's coming through, that would be a good example. Okay. I hope that answers the question. But I think it's a really important way to see ourselves. It's not developing Krishna consciousness, uncovering it. And that way, I am Krishna conscious. I just have to uncover it. Then we can see, okay, yeah, that's feasible. That's possible. Some devotees are criticizing because they feel better than others. Some devotees tend to feel better than non-devotees. Yeah, there may be, yeah, that's the whole point, If we're called to condemn a philosophy or a person for their behavior, and that is beneficial for that person and or the people hearing, then we may have to do that. and be detached, because that's the best thing. But if we're doing it just to show off or feel ourselves better, then it's not going to help anybody. John says, little things in the home, like wasting a dish without complaining or criticism. Practice, practice, yeah. Everywhere, every second. Criticizing anyone, including yourself. Siddha Yogini says, I hear there is 64 words in Sanskrit for love. Is that correct? There, I'm not exactly what you're referring to, because once you get to the level of prema, then there are subdivisions of stages. Not subdivisions is the word, but there are stages of prema. So each stage has a name, right? You've heard some of the names. You have bhava, the stage of bhava, but you also have bhava and mahabhav and pranaya and so forth. I forget all the names. Well, my brain is not working this week at all. I'm like totally forgetting. I mean, I'm lucky that I remember my name. It's just blanking out all the time. But sneha, anurag, like that. 64, I'm not familiar with. It could be, but these are nuances and stages of love. But that's spiritual love. And I don't think in Sanskrit literature, I don't know, we're going to give, Kelly, can I give you an assignment? Can you investigate this? Because she's learning Sanskrit. Can you investigate all the words for love and how the words for material love, what words they use for material love and how they distinguish? Of course, your Sanskrit teacher may have to have some spiritual understanding to do this. But, these very elevated books by the Goswamis that we shouldn't really read are all about analyzing love, the psychology of the different gopis and everything. It's quite amazing. So now it's time to say goodbye. We went too long. Oh, I'm reading Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's biography, and said it was quite common for him to speak, to start, like he would, had a normal schedule. He would begin Bhagavatam class at 4 a.m. and he would end at 8 a.m. Or sometimes he would start class at 8 a.m. and he would go into the afternoon, like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That was not uncommon. He was very adamant about hearing, the power of hearing. So 2 hours for Bhaktisiddhanta was that was just the introduction. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. We'll finish the introduction to today's class, and now we're going to begin. Hare Krishna. Those days, life was more simple. So, okay, I'm going to end the video now. And if you want to chant with us in 1 hour and 5 minutes, we'll see you on my Zoom page.